Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco, and here with my co-host Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
Oh my god, my life has been so hard recently. My job is so annoying, and then I had like food poisoning at some point, and I've just been so stressed out because I'm DMing or whatever. Like my life has been so hard recently. Anyway, what's been going on with you?
Well, I've been in the hospital again recently for my heart condition. That's why we haven't posted in a while, you guys. But we're getting back on it.
Yeah,
Anyways,
because both of our lives have equally been really tough lately.
yeah, because I only went to the hospital like what, 5 times recently? Anyways, today we're talking about another Batman movie and continue our Batman animated retrospective. We're talking about The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2. This is based off a comic by the same name, I believe. And yeah, let's just get into it.
Did we read the comic, Marco?
No, we did not.
We did
Well,
not.
I did not. Did you?
I did not as well. It's been on my list for such a long time. I did take a little sneak peek. I do love the stylized art. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Hmm.
But I don't think you would like it.
No. Okay, Mal and I were talking about this. I before we start recording, I asked Mal, I have to know what your opinion is on this movie because I had really mixed feelings about it. And what Mal said like shocked me. But let's get into it first.
Okay, we'll start off with part one. A retired Batman comes out of hiding after crime rates rise through the roof. He successfully defeats the leader of the mutant gang and takes on a new Robin. The mutant gang fall, and the sons of Batman rise as Commissioner Gordon retires and the Joker regains sentience. In part two, the Joker is back in action and Superman is a registered Republican war criminal. With the help of Robin and a feature from Green Arrow, he takes them both down before casually faking his death and starting over underground.
So I did not like Superman in this movie duology. I don't know much about Superman, but Mel, is Superman the kind of person who would work for the government? Because that felt really out of character. And I don't know his character, but that felt out of character, you know?
I can't give you a yes or no because with just who he is as a character, he can be, I don't know, I guess taught to become like a nationalist, which is what he is in this. But I think the general lack of empathy with Superman in these specific films is so insane to me, especially after what he does to Batman. I sort of felt like it should have been this wake up moment for him, but I don't really think we got that. So, no, they really did do him dirty in this, but I also understand that he was put in here to fit a specific role in this story. And that's where I'm coming from this. Is like he was put in here for a very specific reason, but this is not my Superman.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I did watch like a few interviews from the comic writer before I was writing all my notes, and I think it was mentioned that like he kind of morphed Superman into like a different character to fit the narrative. So yeah, I do agree with you, but I still don't like this version of Superman that much. So yeah.
The visual of Superman being Richard Nixon's lapdog was so insane to me, and it's something I feel like every person who's a fan of DC should experience. Just that specific scene.
I'm not sure how I feel about Joker and Batman's voice actors in this movie. I definitely think that Batman's voice actor is okay, but Joker's voice actor felt wrong at some times. And I saw someone else say this. The actor has performed well. I just feel like the voices didn't really fit Joker that much.
His voice actor was the only one I didn't like cuz I don't know, he just didn't sell me on it. He felt a little too boring. There was this scene where he literally got a batarang thrown into his eye and he had the audacity to look at Batman like he was the crazy guy. And I just think there's an iconic Joker laugh that I feel like we all expect. No matter who's voice acting the Joker, we expect this sort of just iconic Joker laugh, and I don't think we got that with him.
The therapist character really pissed me off, and I literally had to skip some of the scenes where he was talking because it was like too frustrating for me. Not a like critique of the movie. I just like they obviously were trying to write a message with that character, and they did well because I got frustrated. I really like what they did with Two-Face in this movie. Like the scene where it shows how like the other side of Two-Face has completely taken over Harvey Dent was so cool in my eyes. And I also like how Two-Face was used kind of like as a reflection to Batman. Okay, so what was it with the girl who had swastikas on her boobs? Like what the actual fuck? I was so confused.
No,
And
Marco, we don't talk about Bruno.
you said it. You said it.
You told me I should.
Yeah, okay. So for context, I did ask Mal, like, wait a minute, wasn't there a person with like swastikas? Um, and and Mal
On her
searched up,
breasts.
yes, on her breast. And Mal searched up her name, and her name was Bruno. And then Mal said, "We don't talk about Bruno." It was iconic. And Mal was like, "I'm not gonna say that," but you said that, and I'm proud of you for it.
I said that.
Yeah, you said that. Okay, so I have mixed feelings on this version of Robin. I could see the potential of the character. I just feel like she wasn't developed at all. Mel, what's your opinion on this Robin?
I really did not have many notes for Carrie Kelly just because, well, okay, so the writers when they were writing Carrie, they were basically like, we want like just a well-adjusted, just like clever teenager because they sort of wanted to, I guess, like contrast with the other Robins. Her character in general, I feel like just helps with the story of Batman and Bruce that we're being told. She's a really cool character, but I feel like her being in this movie wasn't meant to like set her up as the new Robin or really have her become a staple. She was just sort of here, sort of like Superman, to serve a specific purpose. And I think she did that very well in this.
I'm so happy that there was blood in this movie. Can I just say that? More blood in Batman media, please.
And violence in general. Well, not in general, but like Batman violence. I
Yeah,
love the
Batman
Batman
violence.
violence.
Yes. Okay, so literally, Robin sees someone die, and that's like never talked about again. I was expecting her to be like, "Holy shit, I just watched someone die," but it's never mentioned after it happens, and I just found that a bit weird. I don't know. I just felt like I needed to mention that. The mutants were kind of boring. Show us a better Batman villain. Like the mutants were useful to the plot, but I wish they were not there in the first place, to be honest. So I get that Batman kills the Joker in this movie, which while I do have mixed feelings on, I also understand that this is a different version of Batman. But like I'm pretty sure Batman still had a no killing rule before that moment. Did he? Like I kind of got that kind of vibe, but I can definitely
Yes,
see other people argue that that wasn't the case.
yes, but this is not the same Batman in so many ways. And also this is the sort of old Batman, the like the version of an old Batman that I really like because it's completely different from the old Batman we get in what's it
Batman
called?
Beyond.
Yes, Batman Beyond. And the way that Batman in this is very emotional. His emotions is the reason why he is so trusting in Carrie when he first meets her. And it's the reason why he lets her be Robin. He's the reason why he's like, okay, let's go to the Batcave. He's the reason why he's like, all right, your training starts now. It's also the reason why he is so much more violent when he comes back because he sees all the injustice happening and he's like, I need to fucking strike fear in these people ASAP immediately. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like him killing the Joker at this point makes so much sense, especially when he has that line where he's like, how many people have I killed because I didn't kill you or something like that. And I just feel like at this point in his life, he's just sick of it.
Okay, two things. You mentioned a line that Batman says. I'm gonna address like right after I mention this. I understand that like this is a different Batman and that like, he's changed over time. I just feel like the murder of Joker felt like a bit too premeditated, I guess. It was like this thing where like he knew for a while that he was going to kill the Joker. I feel like if I wanted him to kill the Joker, I wanted him to be like more sporadic, I guess. I want it to be like a bit more emotional, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I'm okay with this version killing the Joker overall. Well, I guess he didn't technically kill him because like he only paralyzed him and then the Joker committed suicide, but still.
I am the complete opposite of you because I feel like the way that the Joker toys with Batman throughout like both their lives, I just feel like there was probably this little part in Batman's head where when he was at his worst, he was always thinking like one of these days. But I feel like I don't know, I just feel like his death being sort of vaguely premeditated makes sense.
Okay. I can kind of see where you're coming from. I want to talk about the other thing you said. So I wrote this down before you mentioned it, so I'm just gonna say like that part. There's this kind of theme that goes on throughout the movie that it's kind of Batman's fault that the villains are being villains. Like you know how that line Batman says like how many people did I let you murder or something like that. I feel like the message is kind of pointing that it's Batman's fault for becoming a vigilante. He eventually created the Joker, but at the same time I feel like it's not Batman's fault that Joker murdered those people. However, I feel like the movie is trying to kind of argue that it is Batman's fault that he murdered those people, you know?
No. Here's what I think. I think that this story is trying to get at people think that it's a Batman's fault. And Batman also thinks it's his fault in a way, but I also feel like we all know it's not. So I don't think the writers were trying to be like, "It is your fault, Batman." They also show two different sides though, because they also have what's her name? What's that girl who's like Batman's like number one fan? She's always on the news being like, "How is this Batman's fault? How is it his
Yeah,
fault?
yeah,
This
I know
happened
who
and
you're
this
talking about.
happened."
Yeah,
Yeah,
the reporter girl. I don't know.
something Lane or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I didn't really get the vibe that like the writers were trying to make it seem like everyone thought it was his fault. But Batman definitely is always in his head about how, oh, crime happened because it's my fault. But that's just him being dramatic, you know.
I mean, I guess I just feel iffy about that line specifically. Like I feel like that line really rubbed me the wrong way and made me feel that way. But I definitely understand your argument. What was it with those child robot people? Um like it felt so random and strange. And the mind control lipstick too. I honestly can't tell if this movie was trying to be that serious because it felt serious at the first half, but then kind of had these like wacky little side plots. I don't know. It was tonally a bit strange for me.
I mean, those both those two things, the robot children and the lipstick was a part of Joker's whole shtick. So yeah, I think it makes sense that they're a little bit goofy.
Yeah, yeah. It made me uncomfortable to see Catwoman in a Wonder Woman costume. I was so confused and concerned for her. Free my girl.
Oh, yeah, that sort of was a throwaway line where Richard Nixon basically told the superheroes they can't be superheroes except Superman. So, like, Wonder Woman went back to Themyscira and Superman, like, maimed Green Arrow.
Wait,
But yeah,
is that why he has one arm?
yeah,
Huh?
he attacked Green Arrow and he lost his arm.
I totally missed that part.
It's
Anyways,
literally one line, and I bet you they go more in depth in the comic, but neither of us have read it, so
yeah. Speaking of Green Arrow, I was confused on who that guy was until I realized it was Green Arrow. I feel like his inclusion was a bit random, but I still enjoyed him for the most part, you know?
that's an issue I have with this overall. Okay, neither of us have read the comics, so I know that it's a four-part comic,
Hmm.
and it sort of feels like with the pacing of each of these movies, it sort of feels like they really sort of had this set storyline for the first part, and then in the second part, they're like, okay, let's just throw everything else in there and it'll be fine. Which is why I feel like Green Arrow was sort of a weird inclusion at the end.
Yeah. My last words I have to say before you start talking is I just really didn't like the second half of this duology. I felt like the second half was way weaker. I didn't really like the Joker in this movie, and the Joker was a big part of the second half. Also, I just really did not want the mutants in this duology, like at all. Okay, so I don't find it strange that they like decide to switch sides because they find Batman cool and everything. I kind of like the fact that they're like mindless, I guess. My real issue is that like Batman seems like mostly okay with just having them under their wings when the majority of them will probably just like change sides really quickly, especially with the ending of this movie. Like we can see the group of criminals working with Batman. I just feel like Batman working with these people doesn't make sense in my head because the majority of them were working for the mutants before. I don't know, something about that was weird. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, so the chunky Batman symbol, how do we feel about it?
I actually kind of liked it.
Yes! Yes! I love a chunky Batman symbol. I'm glad we agree on that one thing. Okay, you didn't like the mutants, but what I love about the mutants is that they are very much a representation of the time that this comic was made in, which was in the 80s. So they are just so goofy, and I can never take them seriously, and I love it. They're sort of like minions, the minions. That scene where like it was Bruce's breaking point when he was like doom scrolling on cable television was such a mood. So this was most definitely like a joke line, but when Alfred was giving Bruce a massage and he like mentioned how his family has an old family recipe for suicide, that was just like it was so funny to me. But like I don't know, that is sort of Alfred's kind of humor. But I do like the idea that he just like has an old family suicide recipe.
I just remembered this. Alfred dies in this movie.
Yeah, he has a stroke and dies.
But but wait a minute. But I think he has a stroke and dies because he thinks Bruce is dead, but Bruce is alive still.
No, it
So
was
did
all part of the plan. He saw him take the pill before he left.
so then why did he die?
I mean, I don't think Alfred dying was a part of the plan, but I think that Alfred like blowing up the mansion was a part of the plan. I just think Alfred was old.
Okay. I don't know, something about that just doesn't sit right with me.
No, it just be like that,
Anyways.
Marco.
I feel like Bruce should have at least reacted in some way, you know?
They didn't have enough time, Marco. Not enough time.
Fine, fine.
People calling Batman a fascist is so funny because I haven't put a lot of thought into the ideology of Batman, but I feel like this specific Batman is closer to an anarchist than a fascist. So like I have no idea why they kept calling him a fascist other than ooh, buzzword. Oh yeah, okay. This only happens a couple times throughout the film, but there are like these random silly moments that happen. And one of them was when Carrie was dressed as Robin and she stops this robbing from happening. And the thief looks so offended and he's like, I'm trying to make an honest living here. And then he just walks away. Those like little moments of humor were so nice throughout these movies. And I also think that they were naturally included. So that was also nice. Also, you didn't point this out. The leader of the mutant gang, his nipples.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I totally forgot to write that down. Holy shit. Oh my god, you just reminded me of that.
You're welcome.
No, but really, what was up with his nipples? Oh my
What do we think
god.
about them?
Disgusting.
Oh, that's rude. You know, people express themselves in many ways. My only question is, what are they exactly? Like, are they a type of nipple tassel? Are they a type of piercing? What happens when he tries to put a shirt on?
Yeah,
I
how
just
do you
had,
put a
yeah.
shirt on?
Yeah, I had a lot of questions. I was wondering if he had like custom made shirts where he cut the holes out. There's just a lot of unanswered questions.
Stop.
Also, like, he can't hug
No, no, no,
people.
no.
He can't hug people, Marco.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
cry.
like, those were weapons. But I had to bring it up, you know? So, there is a bit of shaky camera in this, but it is inoffensive because the camera is moving with the hits to exemplify them instead of just like going apeshit for no reason, which I also really appreciated. There's a lot of small things that these films do that just exemplified them in general for me. And the ending fight scene with the mutant at the end of the first film is what all Batman fights should be. Two beefy men wrestling around in the mud. Okay, oh my god, part two. Something I love about most comic villains is how they are just as good with a gun as stormtroopers are with blaster rifles. The way they empty clips for fun is just so entertaining to me. Oh yeah, I didn't mention this before, but I love how they use the changing of news channels to further the plot and transition to new scenes. That was very clever of them. So, at the carnival where Joker goes apeshit, the indiscriminate shooting before and inside the tunnel of love genuinely made me feel sick just because it is so reminiscent of just like a generic mass shooting, which sort of makes these films more interesting because it feels like it's only getting better and more relevant with age, which is actually kind of scary because this was released in the early 2010s. Which is crazy because I feel like they're like more relevant than ever now. That being said, Joker's end being in the tunnel of love made absolute sense. Okay, and Commissioner Ellen Yandel, in also in the tunnel of love, where they're trying to catch Batman, and she's like, "If it's not a cop, shoot it." Something I find so interesting about Commissioner Gordon and Robin being replaced with like female counterparts is how they wrote their replacements as the exact opposite of them. Hopefully that means Yandel won't cheat on her pregnant wife and then leave her for the mistress, am I right? Which, okay, I never brought this up. I should have. So Batman Year One was written after this, which means like they're connected. And
They're by the same
it's so
creator.
crazy because there's this scene in Commissioner Gordon's house where you see an old framed photo. Uh-oh. Marco, are you there? Marco! Say polo! Ruh-roh, Raggy!
Okay, we're back. So my Wi-Fi cut out yesterday and we couldn't record because of that. But my Wi-Fi is working today again. My Wi-Fi is terrible. It did cut out like a little while back before we start recording just now. So it's just how it is. Anyways, Mal's going to continue talking about what they're talking about.
So I was talking about, I think, how year one and this one is connected. This comic came out first, and then year one came out as a prequel, I guess. And you pointed out, isn't Commissioner Gordon with a different woman? And I said, yes, the woman he cheated on his pregnant wife with, which makes the ending of year one so much funnier because it's literally like, yeah, I convinced my wife into going into couples therapy. She's not that excited about it, and it's like you end up leaving her. That's crazy. Actually, I hope she was the one who left him.
I was about to say that too. I was like, I'm hoping that she's the one who left him. What I find so weird about that is that like Batman Year One, he's like, no, I gotta stick with my wife, and he tells that to his coworker, his partner, that he plans on staying with his wife, and his partner is like, okay, I'll get like switched to a different place or something like that. So it's so weird that she comes back in this movie. That's so weird. What?
Yeah, and literally in their house, Gordon has a picture of his old wife and his son.
Oh,
Literally, like a big picture on one of the walls.
oh my
And that's how I
god.
made that connection.
What was the writer thinking? Oh my god.
I don't know, but it's oh my god, that was so crazy. But I don't know. I do believe once a cheater, always a cheater.
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon is gross.
So Batman Year One was the one with the short stories, right?
No, that was his origin story.
Which one was the one with a bunch of short stories?
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights. Oh, okay. Because something I noticed in Gotham Knight is there's this one short story where a bat flies through the window and like crashes into the window, and that happens here too. So I'm wondering who came up with the idea first.
This one
Uh,
probably.
okay.
And they probably just had like a little homage to it in Gotham Knights.
Hmm. But yeah, cheaters are weird.
I know they're so insane, in my opinion.
In our
Um,
opinion.
like, just break up with them. I don't understand the issue.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, it's so weird.
I don't understand the problem, but okay. It's like it's like when lactose intolerant people just keep drinking milk. I'm not saying it in a way where it's like, oh, milk isn't everything, it's hard to escape it. I'm being like, there are lactose intolerant people who deliberately will drink a glass of milk.
Mhm.
And then they'll be like, oh, my tummy hurts so bad.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's the way it is? Maybe that's a bad comparison, but it's like the first one I thought of.
No, it's like what do you expect? You're facing the consequences of your actions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, crazy man. Okay, my last couple things. Maybe if the fight in Batman vs Superman was half as good as the one in this, I wouldn't have fallen asleep watching it in theaters. That movie was so dog shit, and I will clown on it every chance I get.
From my understanding, the only reason they really fight is because they don't communicate with each other.
Don't ask me.
Oh,
Don't ask me. The only time I ever watched that movie was in theaters,
oh, okay.
and I fell asleep. Like, there was literally no reason for me to watch it again.
Okay.
But I don't know. It felt like a macho man thing issue going on.
So definitely no communication.
Probably,
Yeah.
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 Also, Clark had some nerve going to Bruce's funeral. They literally made him into such a turd. It was so just annoying for him to be there in the first place. And that's it.
Overall, I found this duology to be a mixed bag. I definitely think the first movie is stronger than the second one, like way stronger. I actually found myself enjoying the first movie, and I can't really say that about the second half. I don't know. I think it was partly the Joker, partly like the message that I personally felt that they were trying to say throughout the second movie. And the ending, I don't know, and Superman also. Like all those things just really bothered me, which made my enjoyment of the second movie like a lot less than the first one.
Well, the character animation was very inoffensive. The movements were crisp and fluid. I would say it was actually above standards. The backgrounds, boring, specifically the outdoor scenes. And I know it all comes down to the people, specifically the lack of people. And I pointed this out a few times. Gotham is supposed to be a major city like New York City. So when I don't see busy sidewalks, it feels empty. But truly, that is really the only critique I have for the first part. For the second part, I don't know how I feel about it. I just think too much happened and it really just made it hard to focus. It makes me wonder if the story would have benefited from being 3 parts instead of 2, cuz it really felt like they took their time with part 1 and then just threw everything else into part 2. But it wasn't bad overall. I understand what they were going for. I just think maybe they needed more time. But one thing that I did really like about the second part was I do think that it will age gracefully.
Okay, Mel, I've been asking you every single time whenever we do a Batman animated retrospective of a movie, if you had to predict where you would rank these movies from S to F, where would you put them?
Here's where it gets controversial. I'm gonna rank part 1 S, and I'm gonna rank part 2. Okay, I'm teetering between A and B, but I'm feeling gracious right now. So for now, I'm gonna put it at A. Because I just feel like I really liked Batman's story overall in it. So where are you, Marco?
So we did already talk about this, but the first movie I'm personally putting at a B. I think it's a solid movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. But the second movie I'm putting at a strong D because I did not enjoy it at all. Like not that much to be honest. Now, like you said, it was pretty rushed as well. I just felt like everything that was kind of iffy about the first movie was like stacked on top again and again at the second movie, which is not good. So yeah.
Well, the mediocre takes returned with the Dark Knight Returns, and with that return, we now turn to the return of the Mediocre Minute. This is a tiny little micro moment where me and Marco recommend books, comics, music, games, and more for you all to check out. My recommendation is the comic New Superman. If you want to read about another insufferable Superman, this is the comic just for you. But truly, I think the spin on Superman and in general, like the Justice League in this comic is pretty interesting. I just got to like one of the biggest twists in the story, and the only thing I want to say is just a content warning for fat phobia. It's pretty persistent in the first few issues, so if that's something you're sensitive to, be mindful of that. Marco, what is your recommendation?
I'm recommending something that's not related to this movie or Batman at all. I'm recommending another album, which is so rare for me. I'm actually recommending something I recommended to Mao, and that Mao will eventually have to listen to for a YouTube video we're doing at the end of the year. It's called All Girls Go to Heaven by Mint Green. So I struggle with trying to explain music, right? So I was trying to figure out what genre this was. Spotify has this thing where sometimes they create their own genres, and Spotify considers this bubble grunge, which I think actually really fits well with the idea of this album. It's kind of like Beach Bunny, basically, for those of you who do listen to Beach Bunny. It's definitely rock music, but it has kind of a poppy vibe, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I really enjoy it. It's amazing. I have the vinyl of it. Recently, actually, I got the vinyl for $5 on their merch store because there was like a $20 off sale, which is crazy. So listen to this album. If you like it, buy the vinyl. It's probably still on sale. So that's it.
And both these recommendations will be in the description of this episode.
Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2. If you want to send us a voice message for Spotify for podcasters, there'll be a link in the description to do so below. Also, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and that's it.
Also, comment on our YouTube channel if you want to
Yes.
like yell at us or something. I don't know. Tell
Yes.
me how bad my takes are.
Yes, it's literally just called the Mediocre Takes Podcast. Just search it up on YouTube. You'll probably find it. Comment on our stuff, you guys. Like, honestly, it's lonely. That's everything. So goodbye.
The way we're so desperate.
Yeah.